Recording.
Thank you. So good morning and welcome to the Friday, December 2nd, 2022 Public Clemency Board meeting. The first half hour of the meeting will be open to the public and the second hour will be closed to the public pursuant to DCMR 703.7 subsection B. Before we begin, I just want to provide a reminder about a few housekeeping rules for the meeting. First, please make sure your microphones are muted when you are not speaking. If you have any questions, please hold them and we'll have a period for questions. However, feel free to take advantage of the chat function to send questions in, and we will happily address them during the question and answer portion of the meeting. Now I'd like to proceed to take attendance of board members present so we can make sure we have a quorum to proceed. I'll call the name of the board member, so please let me know if you are here. Felisa Carter.
Here.
Brian Ferguson. Emily Gunston.
Here.
Indira Hannard. Sonia Weil. Katya Semenova.
Here.
Alana Settenberg.
Here.
Great. So we need 5 members to reach a quorum, and we can proceed with the meeting because we've met that. So, under new business, at the last board meeting, we discussed making changes to our combined release of information form to include the request of juvenile or otherwise sealed records, as well as an extension of the expiration date for CSOSA releases. At this time, I'll turn it over to our former staff director, Christina Sacco, to provide the board with an update on this matter. But before I did get asked that, let me make sure that everybody is aware that today we are joined by our new staff director. Parisha Dixon is the newest member of our team, and we are very happy to welcome Attorney Dixon. Born in the District of Columbia and returning here to serve in the administration of Mayor Bowser and with us on the Clemency Board, we're very happy to welcome her. Parisha has extensive experience with public defender and with civil litigation. She is an attorney, and we are thrilled that she's here with us. And as much as we have that excitement for Parisha, we are also sad that Christina moves on to other roles within the Office of the General Counsel within the Executive Office of the Mayor. And Christina has really been the one to shepherd us through this whole process of instigating a board. And now it's a perfect timing, I would say, for Christina to move on to other important matters. Well, Parisha starts to help us look at how do we start to actually engage the community in a different way so that we can start to actually do this work and have applications and start to consider clemency requests. So perfect timing, Christina, and thank you so much. If you go ahead now with your report.
Patrick, thank you for that kind introduction, and yay, welcome, Parisha. We're so excited. Parisha has a background in public defender services. She is phenomenal, and I think will bring a wealth of information that I did not have experientially, but will definitely provide that to me via osmosis. So I'm looking forward to working with her. But yes, to the board, I figured since this was a matter that I took on at the last meeting that I should provide the update with respect to the releases. So we sent red line edits to board members about the juvenile records that we were trying to seek with respect to, records that are held by the Superior Court. And so we sent around those red line edits of the releases. So we haven't received any edits back. I believe Ilana sent some earlier, but if we just ask board members to please email your suggested edits to us, whether you have any concerns. We're looking to have a follow-up meeting with the Superior Court about building out a process to receive sealed and juvenile records. So that was the main concern. Ilana, certainly if you want to provide comments with respect to that now, we'll take them. But since we received those this morning, we'll follow up via email. But just wanted to see if any board members wanted to chime in about those edits.
And my apologies for getting them in late. And I also thought the meeting started at 10 and I sent them at about 9:50. So I just figured I'd just send them to you guys, but what they were was really just a clarification. It lists certain Superior Court adult records that would be obtained. I thought that just all of the records that were listed in the operating guidelines that could be obtained should be listed, just to kind of clarify. I don't even think a release of information would necessarily be needed for those, but just to kind of clarify all the records that would be obtained. And I know we've kind of discussed the sealed records before. I think a release of information and defendant signing it is fine from our perspective. I think that would still not necessarily authorize the court to release the sealed records in some cases. But I think that having the defendant approve them to the extent that that defendant is willing to would, that's fine.
Right. Thank you, Ilana. Yeah, certainly I guess we'll have more of a process. I believe the chief judge is looking at building out, releasing an administrative order to build out that process for the board. So we'll know more, but with respect to the red line edits, any other questions or concerns with that? No, Ilana? Okay. Sorry, I was looking
Just
at you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Just to me. No, that was my
Okay.
only thought. It was really a clarification
Okay.
in the document. The administrative order, can we just kind of maybe just talk about that before it's finally issued, to the extent that you want recommendations from any of us in terms of what might be released?
Right. We don't have additional information yet because
Right.
the Superior Court wanted our red line edits to see what kind of records we want to seek, and so we haven't even had that discussion yet or set a meeting for that. So that's forthcoming, and once we do that, obviously we'll onboard. Should you want to join that meeting, that would be great as well.
Sure. And just to kind of be clear, like, there might be circumstances where the defendant would be fine with releasing the sealed records. We might jointly agree with that, but there might be situations where the government would have an objection to unsealing records, even where the defendant might be okay with it.
Makes sense.
That area of my concern.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for that. Any other board members with respect to those edits to the combined release? All right. If there are no other comments, I will turn it over to the chair. I'm happy to address any questions off email with respect to the release. So please reach out to us, because our next steps would be to have that conversation with both the Superior Court and CSOSA. So with the CSOSA perspective, we're just asking for an extension of a deadline because CSOSA placed a 30-day life on the release, which is not enough to get an application through the mail to us, and then for us to review the application, get all the necessary information to determine it's complete before sending it to CSOSA for the background record. So for one particular instance, we had to preemptively send it ahead of time before determining whether an application is complete, because the 30-day deadline was coming. And so we forwarded that request up to CSOSA, and the General Counsel's office seemed willing to do that. So we are also going to have that conversation. And those red line edits are also on that same release. So there's two things on that release. So if you have any edits with that, please feel free to send an email to Parisha and myself. All right, to you, Patrick.
Great. Thank you very much, Christina. So I want to do an update on the Clemency community event. As you know, we're planning a community event regarding Clemency with the purpose of educating district residents about the benefits of Clemency, the Clemency application process, and Clemency Board recommendation application process. The events committee has been meeting every Monday in conjunction with the mayor's office on returning citizen affairs. They've made great progress in their planning. I'll now turn it over to our new staff director, Parisha Dixon, to share those updates. Parisha.
Thank you so much, Patrick, and thank you so much for your kind introduction as well. I'm very, very excited to be here and assist with each one of you to make this dream a reality for district residents. So it's nice to see all of you again, right? I've talked to most of you. There's one person I haven't talked to. I won't say your name, but I've talked to most of you this week, and so it's nice to see you all again. Before we start talking about the Clemency community event, I will just have one housekeeping matter for everybody. Please check your DC BC emails. It's really important to check those emails. We cannot email you in your personal email. And as we get closer and closer to the event, there are going to be some things that are going to be sent to you all that are time sensitive to respond to, it is really, really important that you check it. As Patrick said, we've made some really great progress in planning the community event. We have been meeting just about every Monday with Lamont Carey, who's the director of the Mayor's Office of Returning Citizen Affairs. Felisa and Brian, I know Brian's, I don't think he's on yet, but thank you guys for all of your hard work. They've been working extensively with us and, attending the meetings as well. We have some things solidified for the community event, but there are other things that are not. And so I'm going to be asking for input in some of these areas, one of which is how many events should we have? It was brought up at the meeting that potentially we wanted to have 4 different events to reach all of the, as many district residents as we can across the 4 quadrants, reaching all 8 wards. The first one obviously being the bigger event, and the others, for following through the rest of the year. Obviously we have people who are confirmed as speakers whose schedules we have to coordinate. And so the idea of having 4 events may be too much, right? That was brought up at the meeting. Maybe having 2 different events through the year, maybe 1 event and recording it and putting it on the website so that the information is sort of easily accessed that way. I want to know what you guys are thinking. What are your thoughts about how often we should have the event? Should we focus on 1? Should we do 4 different events? And if we focus on 1, and if we only have 1, ensuring that we do the outreach necessary to reach as many district residents as we can to get the information out. Any ideas?
Sorry, just to confirm, we don't have dates set yet, right? We're still in kind of the planning general structure process.
That's right. So I will say that we do not have a date solidified yet, but the idea is to have it soon, right? So after what was discussed at the meeting is after the MLK holiday, there's a lot going on in the district. We don't want to take away from that or have that take away from us, right? So sometime after that, and maybe late January, early February for our first event, if we have multiple. But that also hasn't been solidified just yet, the exact date.
If I can just chime in, the mayor tends to love the more events, the better, at different times of the day to accommodate different people's schedules in different neighborhoods, to make things easier for people who live in different places, and to just build momentum because people may not hear about the first one, but then the word kind of gets out. So I would think that from our perspective, the more the better, and I'll leave it at that.
Thanks for that.
I think that there should definitely be more. I'm on the side of more events. I think that giving, as explained before, that giving people opportunity to attend at least 1 event or receive the information. And maybe what might help us is like, if it may help that if we do 1 major event, even though I'm not for having just 1 event, but if we put it online afterwards on our website, could be helpful. So people have access to the information if they can't attend a live event. So I'm pro multiple events to getting as much information out there in the community as possible. That's it.
I also really like the idea of recording and having the information accessible to those who cannot attend. Those, if it's on our website, then it is there past the events, right? That information is still going to be good information that the resident or that the community, can use, even beyond our 4 events. And so I think that's a helpful thing to have anyway, no matter how many events we have. But opening up to you all for thoughts.
I'd like the idea of many of, like a group of events, and also having them be smaller events where people can ask questions. So like library-based events rather than outdoor kind of celebration events, even if it's in like a larger library space, because this is just going to be confusing for people. And I think we're going to need to have a visual presentation on a board and then give an opportunity for people to ask questions. I don't have any problem with recording the presentation if there's a PowerPoint that people do, but I don't think that the question and answer should be videotaped. And so, and people may want to interrupt the PowerPoint. So if there's one, maybe we record it and say it's being recorded, but then just pick between the events for one where community members are not asking questions, for that one to be on the site, or we could just, or instead of, I think maybe even telling people that it's going to be filmed may impede the dynamic there. So then just film the person doing the PowerPoint, put that on the website, and then as a separate matter, do the community-based meetings.
Those are great points, Katya. And to clarify, I think that was our intention, just to have the actual presentation recorded, and not necessarily a question and answer. But that's a great point. And I will say, since Katya did mention the proposed libraries as the location, that is actually where we were ending up anyway. So libraries, we have so far one in each quadrant. In quadrant 1, Petworth Neighborhood Library. Quadrant 2, we have the Dorothy I. Height Library. Quadrant 3, Southwest Library. Quadrant 4, Capitol View Library. But none of those are in stone. So Christina and I are actually going to go visit all of these libraries next week, to check out their capabilities, their presentation space, to ensure they have, the basics to be able to host an event in that way, in the way that we would like, and capabilities for the presenter. If they do not, then, obviously there are other libraries as backups, but Christina and I have also, and the committee has also proposed some ideas for other agencies, or organizations who may have that, the capability to hold a presentation or have a presentation space and hold an event in that way as well. But we did like the idea of libraries. A lot of them are usually centrally located, easier to get to. Perhaps community already are familiar with those spaces, and so that is where we wanted to start.
I definitely like that idea of using the libraries. I'm also glad to hear we have geographic distribution of where we're going to be doing these presentations. I think to the greatest extent possible, going to the people who possibly would be applying would be, the best possible way.
What's the physical space now of the Ready Center? Because that might be also, I know it's moved, but that may also, I don't know if the current space allows that, but that might be a good place too.
And I'll look into that. Any other thoughts or about the timing, the proposed locations, or how many events to hold? Okay. One more, I would say, as far as timing, one more thing that was discussed is, there are some changes to record sealing laws that may happen, or kind of around the same time. So
Sorry to interrupt, Parisha,
Yeah.
but I thought you could also give an overview of who will be the presenters at the event, to the board, and who confirmed that they'll be there. So in addition to location, but who else will be present, who will be presenting?
Yeah, I'm going to get to that. Just for as far as sort of logistical things, I would say for timing, we were talking about, waiting for, waiting and to see if that passes congressional review. And if it does, that's great, right? To have the event after that time, to be able to have yet another resource, or administrative remedy for residents, or excuse me, DC residents to potentially be able to take part of. So that's something else we're considering. So thank you, Christina. I was going to go into, after those logistical things, the agenda that we do have set for the event so far. You should have received the agenda. I've sent it out to review, but I'll go through it as well. Our plan is to start with a welcome from Lamont Carey, who's the director of MARCA, and have Patrick, do a welcome, and go from there into Norman Brown's story. So we will have, and we have confirmed, Norman Brown, who's a clemency recipient granted by President Obama. We're going to have him share his story with the community as to why, clemency is important. We have confirmed, and after the Department of Justice Pardon Attorney, Ms. Liz Oyer, who has confirmed that she herself will actually present an overview of the clemency process on behalf of her office. We're really, really excited to be working with her office and other agencies to, inform the community of this process, as it can sometimes be really convoluted, very technical and confusing. And so it's really great that we have her to assist with that. We have, we have to be do a presentation, the Clemency Board does. And so we're going to need a board member to volunteer to do that, to give an overview of the Clemency Board's application process at the event. So I'll pause here to see if anybody's willing to jump in and volunteer for that, because we're going to need that sooner than later.
I'm in.
Jump at once.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I think this is really, part of the whole idea of being a public board is that we go out and meet with the community and, start to inform people about what it is that we do. So really would appreciate every board member participating in some way or on these community events.
Yeah, and let's be honest, this event is only going to be as successful as we put the the effort into for outreach and excitement, right? We have to get this message out in some way. So if you're not, going to do the actual presentation, fine, but at some point, we're going to start talking about outreach, and so I'm hoping that all board members can, all hands on deck, get involved with getting the word out to the community.
Yeah, I think it would be great if everybody could agree to participate in at least two. I'll do all four for the introduction piece, but if people would agree to do at least two, it would be fantastic.
PDS is going to be in another part of this, so I'm not speaking up for PDS on this part, on the walking through the application.
So for the Clemency Board presentation for the first event, which will be, like we said, the end of January, early February, who can we get someone to volunteer for that presentation? Since that is one that's coming up pretty soon. And like Patrick said, we're going to have someone who, does this presentation at each event if we're talking about having 4 events. So keep that in mind. But then the first one is anyone willing to volunteer for that?
This is Emily. I'm certainly willing to do it. The reason I'm hesitating is, you probably know, we're just in a time of transition in the Attorney General's office. And so I just don't know what everybody's roles and responsibilities are going to be. So if I remain on the board, I'm certainly willing to do it. I think we'll just need to have some internal conversations here about what OAG's representative is on the board.
Okay, thank you, Emily. And I'll say that's also one of the only open spaces that we have on our agenda, right? And to have that as an open space when it's our event is not something I wanted, right? So so I'm happy that Emily has stepped up, and I would just encourage all the board members to continue to think about their role and potentially a presentation later on. And it can be more. It can be 2 of you, together. You can do it in groups, whatever it looks like, but it doesn't have to be a 1-person show. So I'll write you down, Emily, for now, and then I guess we'll continue and keep it going and update as we get more information. So after that on our agenda, we have a presentation of other administrative remedies for returning citizens. That is going to be conducted by PDS, a representative from PDS. We've been in contact with the Neighborhood Defender Division or Community Defender Division of PDS. And so I don't have anyone confirmed to actually do the presentation. Like, I don't know who's doing it, but PDS has said it will get done. So that's great. And our goal for this event, aside from, of course, informing the public on the process for the Clemency Board's recommendation, would be to inform the community on other administrative remedies, right? This is one of many, right? So the more information we can get out to the community, the better. And so we're very happy to have PDS do that portion. One other thing, we're thinking about is clemency process, like I said, can sometimes feel very technical, convoluted, confusing to our community members. Same thing for this recommendation process. And so we wanted to have points of contacts in the city that community members know that they can go to assist in their applications. And so we have reached out to clinics, law clinics around the city at American. We've connected with UDC, Howard, Georgetown. I believe the only one we haven't yet connected to is George Washington's law clinic. So I don't know if any of the board members have any connections to GW's law clinic, but if you do, please let me know and reach out. Otherwise, we'll just reach out cold and see where we can get to. But the more the merrier, right?
Sorry to interrupt. This is
Yeah.
Sonia. I actually took that clinic at GW, so I'm happy to reach out.
That's perfect, right? That's perfect. Okay. So Sonia's going to reach out and see if they're willing to assist. Our thoughts about the law students. Law students are great for many reasons, but our initial sort of thought is, again, to have someone to be able to assist with the process, and so to have them serve as contacts, and if so, being able to say that right at the Clemency event, this is where you can go to get assistance with filling out your application. But all law clinics don't have that capacity, and so we are working to see what capacity the law clinics do have. It could also be that the law clinics maybe they don't have the capacity to assist with the application process, but they do have the capacity to take on maybe new clients, right, with some other administrative remedy that they're assisting with, record sealing and what have you. And so if that's the case, they can present on that. Hi, we're from this law school. This is what we do. We can take on more clients. This is how you can reach us, right, to serve as a resource at the event. Another idea, aside from law students, right, in terms of getting resources to assist with the application process, would be reaching out to the pro bono bar. And so, the idea is that there are potentially some lawyers or even, law firms who have the capacity to, again, assist in serving as a point of contact or a resource for community members to connect with in order to help do the application process. And if we can get sort of a list of them to be able to either pass out or to say, or maybe some of them can come and show their face and be present, that's great. So I know that Felisa, I believe, have reached out to the pro bono bar. Do you have any update, Felisa?
Yes, I have a meeting scheduled with I think Kelly Neptune. Yeah, I have to, we have a set date, but I might have to move the time. But he's later in December, is mid-December that we're meeting, and to discuss what maybe resources they could provide, or what help they could provide, or what building out a process would look like regarding assistance with applications. So because I don't know if it's on their radar. It may be, I don't, we haven't met yet. So we're going to do that, and I don't have an update yet, but I'll definitely let you know when we talk.
Awesome. Thanks, Felisa. And please let us know how we can assist if with resources or materials or the pamphlet or something, if that can be helpful, and we're happy to help.
Most definitely. I'll definitely probably reach out to kind of brainstorm what exactly I should say to her. Because she's the executive director of the DC Bar Pro Bono Center. So I think I'm gonna probably reach out to you and maybe Christina to kind of what should I be presenting to her
Sure.
At our meeting. So I definitely need to do that too. So I'll follow up with you guys.
Awesome. And we're happy to help. Okay, so after that, we have a question and answer session for, a little more broad than the actual individual presentations, question and answer session. General questions and answer sessions, just to allow for sort of last minute or last ideas and questions. And then we have a conclusion, and it's over. And so that's our thoughts. That's our sort of agenda thus far. Most of it is pretty solidified. Thank you again, Emily, for filling in one of the bigger gaps we have, and Felisa for taking on the last. Does anyone have any sort of thoughts or ideas of anything else that we might that might be useful to present at the event, or ideas, I guess, generally on how to, or anything. I mean, I guess on the agenda. Our thoughts about adding more, I will say, if it was discussed, we don't overwhelm people, right? This is a lot of information, and it's a lot of, some of it again can feel very technical and just confusing, and so we wanted to keep it as simple as we can, but also just get the information out. But if anyone has any other ideas, I'm happy to hear it. Okay.
General matters on community engagement, we'll want to make sure that the advanced materials inquire if somebody will need any sign language interpretation, and we'll need to comply with Language Access Act. And then as a matter of good practice, if the library has a room where we could offer babysitting services, that can facilitate community access too. So it's another way for people to get engaged if they're comfortable sitting with little ones while a meeting is going on for an hour or so. We think that's good practice for being inclusive.
Yeah, I completely agree. Thank you so much for that, Betsy.
And is there any possibility we could get the DC government television station to do the recording for us and maybe have it repeated on the local cable network?
The possibility, Patrick. I think we might have a strategic question about whether we want to record a couple of them and then have them kind of slice and dice to come up with a good presentation that might be interspersed with, say, the best questions that came up during the various presentations and an answer from attorneys or an overview of how this fits within other forms of relief, other record sealing or compassionate release or IRA. You know, there are lots of lanes. And as Parisha said, you know, the criminal justice landscape is kind of quickly evolving. So they might have questions about that. But we've had great help from them before in putting together material and running it on the public access channel, and that would certainly increase distribution.
Right. Yeah, and it's amazing to me how many people, when you appear on that TV station, will stop you in Safeway or in the Giant and say, "Oh, I saw you on TV in the middle of the night last night." So people, it is actually viewed. So that might be a good option for us.
Yeah, I completely agree. I'll say too that the question and answer portions, you know, even if we're not going to put them, you know, actually up on the website, just hearing those questions and answers can give us a lot of insight into as to the confusing, you know, most confusing or parts of sort of the process. And that's something that we can put as maybe a question and answer section or something like that on our website. And so we can, I think there's a lot of good too that can be, there's a lot of good items or I guess knowledge that can be received through the event to help us later revamp or rework sort of some of the things on our site as well. Just another idea I had. Okay. The last portion for me again is outreach. I'll say, and I said it once, I'll say it again, this community event can only be as good as the outreach, right? Getting the word out to everyone. And so it is going to be important for all board members to tap into your networks. I've spoken to, again, almost all of you. You all are connected, right? Using those networks to spread the word for the event. You know, I know that we have sort of a working list of organizations whom you have connections with and have already interacted with. I'm going to share that list with the board in the form of a shareable, I guess SharePoint, maybe Google Docs, in some way to be able to allow you all to sort of edit, add other organizations that you believe can be of assistance in again, helping to get the word out. That at some point, right, that list can, if we can get it as robust as we possibly can, anyone you think that can help, we're going to have assignments essentially where the board is going to be sort of choosing organizations, or maybe we'll assign you organizations that you're already connected to be able to reach out to them and be the point person of ensuring that the outreach is done. Because again, if the word doesn't get out, the event won't be as great as it can. Any questions there?
Just one comment from me to piggyback off Parisha. The list that we're referring to is the list of organizations that board members have already reached out to. So what we're saying is, in promotion of this event, since you already have a working relationship with those nonprofits who work in the reentry space, to circle back with them and say, hey, you know, we're thinking of having a community event and we'll provide you the promotional material for that. But to circle back with those organizations and to also add any new ones between now and when you've done that outreach that you think we should reach out to, so we can have an expanded list of outreach partners in the Clemency Board's Rolodex, so we can really have a wide spanning reach. And with that, what that means is we ask you to please write your name down on that list
Yes.
to volunteer to do the outreach.
Yep. And with that, I'll end with the way I started. You have to check your emails. It's going to be really important coming, you know, in the next coming weeks. The holidays are here, you know, that's going to take up a good chunk of time. Once we get to January, that time's going to really fly. And so these next few weeks, I think, are going to be crucial in, you know, laying the footwork out, getting the word out for the event. And of course, you know, we'll confirm these final details, time, I mean, very important, final details, time, place. But once they're done, I think immediately, you know, we have to start ensuring that the word gets out. Any questions about the community event? Anything that I missed, Christina? Okay.
Oh, Parisha,
Yes.
this is Felisa. You'll be sending out the list of the organizations fairly soon, so
Yeah.
we can volunteer to to reach out to our contacts. All right.
Yes, I will. I will send that. I can send that list today with the organization so that it can start. It's a working list, so this, you know, it can continuously be edited. And so you can add them. Maybe you think of one, you add it, and come back later and add more. But as soon as possible, you know, thinking about them and getting them down to us so we can have that list be as robust as we possibly can.
You're using it maybe to send out like, cause just to let them know, like, that we're in the planning stages, or that I guess once you get material like flyers or whatever to send to those organizations.
I'm sorry.
I guess we're in the pre-planning stages for the event. So are we just updating the list for you guys?
Yeah, right
or
now.
Because you guys are gonna have materials like a flyer or something, and you guys would share that?
Yes. So right now, you know, today, next week, I imagine we will have a lot of the stuff confirmed, the outstanding things that are very important that you need to actually be able to tell the organizations what we're doing. And so we will right now it's building the list. Please start putting the names in the list so that we have knowledge ourselves and the list can be robust. But as soon as we have those details, you know, finalized, of course, we have to go through some things ourselves, right, to get the promotion materials all set. But once it's set, you will have it. And as soon as that happens, you know, I would ask the board to sort of immediately start getting in contact, with their connections at these organizations and other agencies to get the information out. And at that time, yes, you will and should have the promotion material. Of course, it's not a problem to mention it now. I mean, I think that's fine as a heads up as well.
Okay. Thank you very much. Any other questions on this issue? Okay. When will we actually have the date for that first meeting?
The first event?
Yes.
Christina, you feel free to chime in. I think we can solidify it maybe in the next week or so. I mean, it just depends on things, right? We have to after we see the locations, and hopefully early next week we can do that, right? Is the space available on that date, right? Like what dates are, so it's a little bit more logistical planning. And then of
Okay.
course we need to, once we have the date, inform the speakers of the date. So I'd say soon. I don't know if I can do all of that next. I don't know if it can be solidified next week, but as soon as possible. It's definitely on our priority list for sure.
Yes, absolutely. So I'd just like to end the conversation by saying thank you to the board and to our staff folks for really raising this issue up, because community engagement is, central to what we're doing here. We need people to know about this process. It's a new process. We're a new board-ish. We've gone through all the administrative and regulatory hurdles. Now, clearly, we need to start to engage the community, and so they know the good work that we plan to do. So really appreciate all the effort that's gone into this, and I look forward to these community meetings and meeting people for whom this is an important process. So thanks for all that work. Thank you. I want to make a motion to add a new agenda item. I'd like to make a motion to add the discussion of changes to the language of the Clemency Board Establishment Act to the agenda. Can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you. On November 30th, an omnibus bill which included changes to the language of the Clemency Board Establishment Act passed through committee. I'll now turn it over to our board member, Sonia Weil, to present the changes. And she'll also take any questions from board members and from the public on this. Swale?
Thanks, Patrick. Yeah, as you said, the committee voted on a bill this week, and as part of the bill, we made two changes to the statute that we've discussed here in our previous board meetings. One of which is making the seat that previously was a person with experience in returning citizens issues, we changed that to require the person to be an actual returning citizen themselves. And that's a change we discussed at length here, and had discussed the reasons for doing that. And I think the committee agreed with all the reasons that we discussed. And then the second change was another issue we've discussed at length, or at least I know we've had a lot of conversations separately. Christina and I have, and I think others and Katya have, about the innocence portion of the statute. And when we drafted the statute, we wanted to allow people who were maintaining their innocence to apply for clemency. But it currently in the statute, we had required those people maintaining their innocence to show that they had been rehabilitated, which, if you think about it, makes little sense. If you're maintaining your innocence, why do you have to show that you are rehabilitated? So we took that out of the statute, and then we made several other just like technical person-centered language changes. So yeah, I'm happy to take questions on that, on any of those changes.
Thank you for that. I think the public is aware that we did actually write a letter. The board asked that we write a letter to Councilmember Allen making that one change. So appreciate the council taking that seriously and the work that you and Councilmember Allen did to bring that forward. Does anyone have any questions on that? And I also know you're open to speaking to members of the public now as well. So I think we have Professor Moyd, if she has any questions.
I don't have any questions. Just one comment regarding that. I appreciate that that's been done, especially the eliminating the requirement that a person show rehabilitation if they're maintaining their innocence. That was something that Professor Ross and I felt very strongly about from the beginning of this process. So we appreciate that. The only other comment that I have is goes back to Ms. Dixon's presentation. First of all, welcome, Ms. Dixon. It's nice to see you, and I appreciate your reaching out. I just want to emphasize one thing that my former colleague, Professor Ross, mentioned in her response to you, and that is to reach out to the community that of men and women who are behind bars. Because they have it is a community. They have resources and the ability to get the word out to their family members in a way that sometimes we cannot. And so reaching out to that community could also be a way to enhance the participation of the impacted community from the district.
Thank you, Professor Moyd. I completely agree. And that is on our list of things to do. I'll actually say that we actually have been in contact with the Department of Corrections as late as yesterday. So we have confirmed a tour of their facilities December 23rd. And on that day, we actually intended to do a presentation to those who, the residents that are there, to inform them of the process or this process. Unfortunately, and speaking to the general counsel late last night, turns out that we're not able to do that at that time given the holidays, but he has confirmed that we can do it early, right after holidays in early January. So that'll be one of our first of many, right? There's facility. We have it in the works. I'll just say that we have it in the works. I assure you that we will. That is a population that we are going to ensure that we are connected with, that they're
Okay.
informed. So thank you so much for that.
You're welcome. And especially if a part of the presentation is going to be recorded, Cedric Hendricks with CSOSA, he goes into the facilities on a regular basis and does his pre-release presentation that he does, and certainly this can be a part of it. If it's recorded, it can be shown as a part of his show.
Absolutely. We've discussed and are already working with CSOSA to do that exact thing, right? Using our network, using our resources. It would be great for the board members or to be able to go to some of the facilities themselves as well. But some of the facilities where district residents are, unfortunately, aren't near.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
which is, a huge issue in of itself. But as far as access to them, it will be, someone who already does that sort of outreach. That's someone who we already are trying to connect with and ensure that that gets done.
Okay.
And Professor Moyd and Parisha, this is Felisa. I think Parisha is kind of alluding to our relationship with this DCCIC that kind of goes in and that's what they do. So that's helpful because they already do that. So like I guess using the resources we have in the city with city agencies to reach out to that segment of our population that are kind of difficult to reach for us as people who are on the outside here. So I know they've been thinking about it.
Just to piggyback off of Felisa's comments, Professor Moyd and Parisha's comments, we actually did reach out to Ms. Marks at CIC to kind of give her a rundown of the event, our goal, and how to reach out to folks. So we'll follow up. We have DOC, we have a working relationship with CSOSA and CIC. So if there's anyone else you think that has great outreach in BOP facilities and also the DOC, please send those to us. We are definitely interested. We want the community to know about this, whether it be within facilities or outside, and to also just get the information out to family members.
Okay. So with that, again, our thanks to Sonia for that introduction. So thank you very much. We've just completed the public comments section. What I was going to mention before we adjourn, though, was I'm hoping that we would have our next open meeting on January 20th. It's Friday, January 20th. And I'm just looking for some concurrence by board members that would be a date that could work for you. Our normal time is 10:30 on Friday mornings, January 20th. I see one shaking head. Two.
I'm good. This is Felisa.
I'm good. This is Indira.
Four. Great.
This is Brian. I'm good for that as well.
Thank you. Alana?
Sorry, yes, good.
Okay, great. And Katya, I haven't heard, I don't think.
Yes, sorry.
Okay, great.
I was checking the calendar. Yes.
Great. Thank you. So January 20th, 10:30 will be our next public board meeting. And with that, is there a motion to adjourn?
I'm sorry, Patrick. Just before we close, I don't know if Christina plans to attend future meetings, but I just wanted to just express my appreciation having worked with her thus far in this process. I know that very early on, Professor Ross and I were pretty aggressive about getting our foot in the door and making sure our voices were heard and sending her all of that information. And you've just been so patient and kind, and I just wanted to express my appreciation.
Thank you, Professor Moy. The feeling is mutual. Thank you so much.
Okay, so with that, is there a motion to adjourn?
Are we seconding?
Yes, sorry, that's what I meant.
I second.
Okay, we're adjourned. So we're going to move now to our the closed meeting, and I think everybody has a link for that. Am I correct?